Hello, Namaste. This is Hariharan Iyer, the Enter Trainer, and I welcome you to this very special episode on the Enter Trainer show, where we are going to review the recently concluded India Australia Test Series in Australia, the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. Uh, I'm not a cricket expert. I am not here to talk too much about the nuances of cricket, which I will, of course, purely from a fan's perspective, but also try to highlight some of the management lessons that we can derive from cricket, from this specific series that has just concluded in Australia's favor, who have won 3-1. Uh, what authorizes me to review like an expert is a huge fan of cricket, especially of Test cricket, and I was myself a professional gully cricketer. And I used to take my gully cricket very seriously. I remember those days in the 70s and the 80s when we used to play so much. As kids, we used to play so much. And all of us kids, we used to take our cricket so seriously. So we used to call our own maidans, our compounds, as the SCG or the MCG. And so it was very fascinating. And I used to be the captain of my gully cricket team, and I used to bowl fast, underarm as well as overarm. And I used to try to bat like Sunil Gavaskar. I obviously can't match up even 0.1% of that, but at least the stance and, some imitation used to happen. So it's very fascinating to watch cricket, the way it is evolving. The T20 generation has kind of taken over, but Test cricket is not dead. What is the most amazing thing about Test cricket, especially in this Border-Gavaskar Trophy, was the crowds. They were the man of the series. Absolutely incredible. I mean, thousands of people thronging each Test match, over 5 Test matches. Incredible. What a great advertisement for Test cricket. Who said Test cricket is dead? In fact, uh, like one-day cricket energized Test cricket, T20 cricket has energized both one-day cricket as well as Test cricket. So I think it's really incredible. So kudos to the spectators, first of all, the audience who attended all these Test matches with so much fervor, and they looked so much forward to this whole series. It was absolutely incredible. So thank you so much for keeping Test cricket alive and kicking. And Border Gavaskar Trophy, an India Australia Test series, is always one of the most looked up to Test series, and both the teams lived up to the reputation of playing some of their finest cricket. Yes, in the end, the scoreline doesn't quite suggest that India competed, but actually they competed very well, and it could have been a reverse scoreline, maybe, especially given the start that India had at Perth. 3-1 to Australia. Congratulations to them. They did really well to fight back after being 1-0 down in the series at Perth. And they were Bumrah basically at Perth. And we'll talk more about Jasprit Bumrah a little later. But congratulations, Australia. But India, you tried hard, but I think you fell short on various accounts. So a tantalizing Test series, great crowds. I just want to start on a slightly sour note, and that is Sunil Gavaskar not being present to hand over the Border Gavaskar Trophy along with Alan Border at the presentation. I mean, I don't get it. It seems that if India had won, Gavaskar would have given the trophy. Australia won, so Border gave away the trophy. I think it doesn't matter. It's named after these two fantastic legends. So why would you want to keep one of the gentlemen out of this whole thing? And Gavaskar was there, right there, but anyway, but what a tribute to both these gentlemen, that a trophy has been named after these two gentlemen. Gavaskar, the first to score 10,000 runs in Test cricket, which is one of the most incredible achievements in the history of Test cricket. So when you look back at this Test series, you would say that it was a competition between two vulnerable batting sides with two outstanding bowling sides. You look at the Australian bowling lineup: Pat Cummins, Stark, Hazelwood, Nathan Lyon, fantastic. You look at India: Bumrah, uh, Siraj, Akashdeep, all highly capable bowlers. Jadeja, there was Ashwin for a while, then Ashwin left midway and retired. So it was really between who would be the better bowling side, which would probably define the outcome of the Test series. And Australia did come up trumps there, and they also batted better on many crucial moments. So it was really between two vulnerable batting sides. And I think a management lesson out there is to kind of know your strengths as you enter a contest. And I think both teams are quite aware of their core strengths and also their vulnerabilities in that sense. And they both tried to kind of work around the batting vulnerabilities, but I think Australia did a far better job there than India did. This Test series will be remembered for one man who bowled 151 overs over 5 Test matches, which is staggering. And he took 32 wickets. He was the man of the tournament. He was a man of the series, rather. And Jasprit Bumrah, what an impact he has had. He's a rock star. I mean, what is incredible about Bumrah is he shifted the focus away from the batters to the bowlers now. So bowlers can also be rock stars. Traditionally, conventionally, fans are fans of batsmen. The Virat Kohli, the Gavaskar, the Tendulkars, the Rohit Sharmas. But here was a bowler who got right into the heads of the Australians. When Australia, throughout the series, had to figure out how to handle Jasprit Bumrah. That's the impact he had. The scoreline would have been worse for India if Bumrah had not been bowling the way he did. And in the end, a possible 2-2 scoreline ended as 3-1 because Bumrah did not bowl in the second innings due to injury of the chase. With Australia had to chase on 160 odd runs, and they did it fairly comfortably, and that exposed the weak link in the bowling attack also. But to be very fair to the bowlers, the batsmen generally did not put up the runs on the board. You've got to put up runs on the board for bowlers to have a better chance to bring you back into the game. It doesn't always happen that a team, like it happened in Perth, a team is dismissed for 150, then the opposition is dismissed for 104. But that's because of the genius of one man, Jasprit Bumrah. He can't do it all the time. So in a team context, whatever team you're a part of, it's important to understand one man can bring about a huge difference. But winning and losing is always about the collective efforts of all the team members. You just can't leave it to one person. I mean, he carried that burden on his shoulders throughout the series. The batters were not delivering. The bowlers were not half as good as he was. But he soldiered on single-mindedly with a single-minded focus, nevertheless, and he soldiered on. And salute to Jasprit Bumrah. But in the end, he won the man of the series, but India ended up on the losing side. This reminds me of Sachin Tendulkar, man of the tournament in 2003 World Cup, but victors were Australia. Virat Kohli, the man of the tournament in the 2023 ODI World Cup, victors were Australia. Jasprit Bumrah, the man of the series in this Border-Gavaskar trophy, but the victors were Australia. So in the end, what matters? In the end, it's not the individual that matters. What matters is the team performance. Does the team win or lose? And I think in his heart, Jasprit Bumrah would feel so sad because he's a genius. He did everything possible that he could for the team cause, but the team did not win at the end of the day. And I think that defines individual professionalism, that it's not about my personal accolades or my personal achievements. What really matters is that the team should win in the end. And I think every organization needs to understand this. Every professional needs to understand this, that whatever you are, end of the day, your identity, your success, your longevity, your relevance does not come from purely your individual performance. It comes from the collective performance of the team. If the team wins, the individual wins. The individual wins and the team loses, then the individual has not actually won. And I think that's some great lesson which we need to take away from this particular series, because Jasprit Bumrah was brilliant and he's on his way to become a legend. But the over-dependency on Jasprit Bumrah really let India down. Now, talks about fragmentation in the Indian team typically happens, we are a little fickle-minded nation. We quickly forget heroes, we make them villains. We forget the villains, we suddenly make them heroes. So, and we have short memory. And every time the team loses, there is always this talk about, the team is not getting along, there is fragmentation. Uh, so one really doesn't know what happens inside the dressing room, in the change room. But there is a social media also now to exaggerate things. So, so we don't have any proof of fragmentation. So let's not talk about it. But then, unfortunately, those feelers either come out or they are kind of derived or they are assumed, whatever. But couple of instances did not really show probably Indian cricket in great light. Ravichandran Ashwin, such a legend, uh, picked up almost 540 wickets, second best after Anil Kumble in India. What a match winner for India. He left midway through the series. He retired midway through the series. Did not really give a great feeling. It didn't seem like a smooth exit. Now, I can only say from the outside, one doesn't know what really happens inside. And maybe everything was fine. We are just getting those signals. Perhaps we are reading too much into it. That could be one. Second, I thought something probably which has never happened in Indian cricket before, in Test cricket at least, the captain stepping down. And I don't think anywhere the word dropped was used. It was always some kind of a euphemism. Uh, he stepped down because of lack of form. But it didn't seem like something which you need not read between the lines. I think that was the problem. I think the communication, the way it was presented. I mean, personally, I thought he should have addressed the press conference before the last test and presented Jasprit Bumrah alongside him and he is going to be the captain again. I am dropping myself because I'm not scoring enough runs. My form is an issue. I want to put my team interest ahead of me. Later on, he did give an interview and it seemed like a bit of a management exercise. And I just my personal thoughts on this. I'm not an expert to comment on these things, but as a fan, we all are entitled to our opinions. And I thought that when you don't manage the external world, your fan base, the media, too well, then these things about fragmentation and discord within the team, they start cropping up. And I think typically happens when you're losing. If you're winning, then everything seems fine. But if you're losing, then there is always this talk about discord, which is not necessarily the case. It's a sport where one team which is better will win against the other team. So Australia were the better team. But yes, the Indian team had to grapple with these issues. There's a retirement midway through the series. There's a captain stepping down. Your star players not performing. KL Rahul's who started to play well and he looked like such a good batsman in the initial part of the series. His position was getting changed. There were selection issues. Gill getting dropped, then being brought back. Ashwin not being selected. And so probably he did not feel too good about it, so on and so forth. So there were overall lack of clarity in the way I think the Indian team management presented themselves in the communication. I mean, these days, these things also matter because how much ever you say, I shut my ears to the external noise does come to you because it's so loud outside because of social media and television and, what I'm talking about. So these things could have been managed better. As I said, selection issues were definitely there. Declining batting standards. It was fascinating to see the Melbourne test enter day 5. And I think kind of in the last session, we got a result. And India really should have saved that test. And they would have gone into Sydney 1-1 and that would have made a big psychological difference. But India collapsing consistently. And I think you see that with almost every other team these days. They tend to collapse because I think the surfeit of T20 cricket is brought down the batting standards in Test cricket. And bowlers are starting to look far better than what they are because there's lack of temperament, there's a lack of defense. There is only one way to fight adversity, get aggressive, counter attack. I think that's not the foundation of Test cricket. Test cricket is about what Gavaskar demonstrated, what Cheteshwar Pujara demonstrated, what Rahul Dravid demonstrated. It's about persistence. It's about seeing off those difficult moments. It's about survival. You look ugly when you're surviving, when you're getting hit on the body, when you're getting beaten consistently. But that's what Test cricket is all about. Because Test cricket is about life. It mirrors life. And why I'm so fascinated with Test cricket is because of this factor, that it mirrors life. And in success in life comes through these qualities: persistence, your ability to go through adversity, how you see off the difficult moments, the periods in your life, and how you stay put. And then when you're there, things tend to ease out. That's when you start scoring your runs in your life. That's the metaphor. So batting standards have to improve, and I don't know whether India took the loss to New Zealand at home 3-0, which was really shattering, uh, too lightly, or they just took it as an aberration. I think it gave away enough signals about the vulnerability in the batting setup. Whether it is about playing spin or whether it is about playing pace or swing in places like England or bounce in Australia, uh, Indian batters really need to sort this out, because you cannot count on your bowlers always to bail you out of difficult situations. You're not scoring consistently 300, 400 runs in the first innings, because as they say, when you bat first, you bat at your best. You put the runs on the board. And if you're not putting the runs on the board, you're not putting enough runs on the board and consistently getting dismissed for low scores, that just puts too much pressure on the bowlers, because it takes one or two good partnerships to go past a low score. And I think that is something really to reflect upon. Maybe the Test players need to go back and play Ranji Trophy, play the domestic cricket. Uh, International schedules are such these days. I don't know how feasible it is, how practical it is, but I think that's where the foundation is. So you see, you may be the best T20 player in the world, but your foundation was in the Ranji Trophy, in the 4-day games, in the 5-day games, in the Duleep Trophy. So that's where your skills got honed. And so the foundation of your cricketing ability as a as a bowler, as a batter, as a fielder, as a wicket keeper, whatever, it comes from domestic cricket. And it comes from the longer formats in the domestic cricket. And then you start adapting to the shorter formats. So, and I think that's something to really, really reflect upon, because the future of Indian cricket will depend upon whether we get the fundamentals right now or not. That is extremely important. India lost the big moments. They dropped catches when it really mattered. They allowed partnerships to flower. On the other side, they failed to build on some partnerships. The bowling line and lengths, apart from Jasprit Bumrah, were not always uh, consistent. And you could see when Australia was chasing at Sydney uh, to win the series, in the initial part, the bowlers were wavered and those crucial runs were lost. But you look at Scott Boland, what an ability to keep coming and bowling in the same area again and again, again and again, again and again. I think that's the beauty of Test cricket. It's your ability to be magnificently boring. And that's what life also is. It's your ability to be magnificently boring. I think Scott Boland, so brilliant. He could exploit the conditions. And most importantly, he kept on bowling in the same areas. Now, it's like a Pujara who can keep on defending, 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 defending without getting bored. It's your ability to just stay there. And what amazing thing about Cheteshwar Pujara is how many times he got mentioned during commentary in the Test series, but he was not playing the series. He was a commentator himself. So I'm a huge fan of Cheteshwar Pujara, because the ability to take the blows, the ability to survive the difficult moments. You keep your ego aside and you just say that, boss, these conditions are not in my favor right now. I just need to bide my time, you know, tire the bowlers out, wear them out. And I thought the bowlers were far too fresh each time they came on to bowl because India were losing wickets rapidly. So it's important to wear down the bowlers. So it's important to wear down life if you want to be successful. I think it's a great lesson from Test cricket. So India lost the big moments, crucial moments, consistently over a period of time in the Test series. Uh, in a way, they were saved at Brisbane because of the rain. Maybe they would have lost Brisbane also. Uh, and it was Bumrah who really was standing between Australia and uh, the margin of victory that they would have in the Test series, because that's how big the impact of Bumrah was on the series. A very critical point: reputation has no meaning. What matters in the end is performance. A great letdown uh, for Indian cricket in this series was Virat Kohli's form and the manner of his dismissals. I mean, consistently getting outside the off stump. Rohit Sharma, another star player, not coming good. But we also discovered the future gem is Yashasvi Jaiswal, who played so well in these difficult conditions on his first tour to Australia. Fantastic. What a bright future. He has the adaptability for all formats. Much like what Virat Kohli was at his peak, he could adapt to all the formats. And it's incredible how Virat Kohli could adjust the bat speed in all the three formats. But right now, he's really struggling. And we are seeing a legend really dropping now in terms of his ability to score consistently at the Test level. I think he's still a fantastic one-day player, as he demonstrated during the 2023 World Cup. But in terms of Test cricket, I think there's a big worry there. And he's a legend. Uh, let's say even if he retires today or he retires later, he'll still be a legend because of the voracious number of runs that he has scored. But what happens in life is you are measured by what is happening right now, and right now is not performing. And I think Virat Kohli's lack of form is a big factor in India not being able to retain the Border-Gavaskar trophy. Apart from that century at Perth, and I think that bowlers were quite tired by that time, and maybe they also felt let down by their batters, a little demoralized, because they had dismissed India for 150 and then they had to come out and bowl again very shortly because Australia were dismissed for 100 odd runs. But Virat Kohli, good that he could capitalize on that situation, because he came into bat after a big partnership between Jaiswal and KL Rahul. But after that, just kept going downhill, and the same manner, similar manner of dismissals, I think is something which must be worrying him, which must be worrying the team management and all his fans. He's a huge guy in India. He's a great personality, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see how things pan out from here for people like Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli. And I think it tells us one thing, like even in the exit of Ravichandran Ashwin, uh, you can never take anything for granted. And I'm not saying that any of them have taken anything for granted, but then in the end, what really works, what really keeps you in the game is performance. Whether it's cricket, whether it's any other sport, whether it's life. You are a professional, you are an entrepreneur, whatever you are, what really matters is performance. Reputations have no meaning, because your reputation will be in shambles and you're not too far away if your next set of performances are not too good. So reputations hang very delicately out there. So don't rely on your reputation ever. It's always about performance. And things can go wrong in life, right? I mean, I'm sure these players are trying their best, but they're just not able to make it happen at this moment. That doesn't mean that we need to put them down. But then I think the larger team interest somewhere will be considered. Maybe some tough, hard calls might be made. And that's life. That really is life. You may be a hugely valuable person at one point, but after some time, you get replaced. And we all are dispensable and we all are replaceable. And I think that's a great lesson that sport teaches us every single day of our life. All in all, a fascinating Border-Gavaskar Test series. Wonderful to see some great performances, great moments. Uh, but in the end, Australia were just a little bit more sorted in their team combination, in their selection, in their consistency, in their ability to seize the moments when they mattered, and quite deservedly the winners of this Border-Gavaskar Trophy, and which took them straight into the World Test Championship final to play South Africa. So India obviously tried hard. We are a very passionate country about cricket. But then we got to understand, end of the day, it's just a sport. It's a game. Though I know these days the stakes are so high that it's like everything is seen from like from a lens of profit and loss. But it's a sport. One team which is better on the day during a certain period will be the winners. Australia have been such a great team over the last so many decades. They're very deservedly into the World Test Championship final to play South Africa. And South Africa have got there for the first time, and that's going to be a very, very interesting battle. And I think the great thing about the World Test Championship cycle is that it makes every test match relevant. Even in a 5-test series, suppose you're 3-0 down, you lost the series, the next 2 test matches would still have value in terms of your performance and the ratings or the points that you get, because there is the World Test Championship cycle that's going on. And that's fantastic. It's fantastic for Test cricket. Thank you, India. Thank you, Australia, for playing such amazing cricket all the time, and for the kind of contests that you provide, for the kind of memories that you create, and the kind of audience pull that you have. The spectators love to watch an India-Australia battle it out in the middle. And I remember 1985 when we used to get up early in the morning, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, to watch the telecast from Australia. It's just one of those great delights in life. You have to be privileged to be able to watch. And I think we all are privileged that we can get to see a telecast from Australia. It's fantastic. The reception, the grounds, the crowds, it's just brilliant. And every time India goes there, in the last few years, they've been making such a mark. They tried their best this time, but fell quite short. This is my roundup of the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. And eagerly awaiting the next one. But before I sign off, I want to talk about one gentleman who is an enigma. Rishabh Pant. What do you do with this guy? I mean, what do you tell him? I mean, he plays a ridiculous looking shot which goes for 6. On a similar shot, he gets out, then he kind of gets pulled up. That because why did you play that shot? But then that's how he plays, isn't it? So how do you, and I think this is a captain's dilemma. It's a coach's dilemma. How do you deal with players like that who are geniuses? On that day, and he has done it in the past, they will take the game away from the opposition and they will bring you near victory or win it for you. And on other days, they would look really stupid. They would not look good. They look very silly in the way they get out. But he's a genius. And the world has seen such geniuses before. But every genius is so unique. And I think in leadership, this is also a dilemma that leaders have to deal with in organizations, in sports. In organizations also, you may have such people, eccentric, little maverick, geniuses. And you have to find ways to deal with them, handle them. They have to find their own unique balance in terms of how they want to go about their work in life. So Rishabh Pant, I'm your huge fan and you are just fantastic. You're just fantastic. What an innings he played in the second innings in Sydney. I mean, it lasted longer, it scored 100, maybe the result could have been different. And also the amazing thing about Rishabh Pant, and this is something we all need to learn. He's aggressive, but he's got a strong defense. He battled it out in Melbourne. He played slowly. You know, he played an entire session. He defended, he defended, he defended. He took body blows. Even in Sydney in the first innings, I think. So, in cricket, they say You may have your own technique, but every time you play the ball, your head needs to be still. Every time you bowl your deliveries, your head needs to be still. You need to be focused. The great thing about Steve Smith, who was another big differentiator in this series, what a genius, what a great player, and what a different kind of a player, very eccentric kind of a batter, but his head is still and he has his own strong defense. And I think at the end of the day, your technique matters, your fundamentals matter, the foundation matters. You may be a 360-degree player, you may be able to scoop the ball, you may be turn around and you will be able to hit the ball for a 6 over fine leg or whatever, do crazy things. But at the end of the day, your longevity and your relevance in sport, in cricket, in life lies on having a strong defense. You get the metaphor, I hope. It's about having the right technique. And I think Rishabh Pant and Steve Smith both have that technique in abundance. And that's why they are where they are, and that's why they're able to perform. So many things to take back from the Border-Gavaskar Trophy this time. Controversies, some great individual performances, some great team performances, a lot of drama on and off the field. Uh, uh, Everything was exciting, and I think it was worth viewing as a fan and learning a lot from our heroes and our role models. Hope you enjoyed this special edition on the Border-Gavaskar Trophy review in this edition of the Enter Trainer Show. Please do subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to meeting you very soon. God bless you. Do take good care of yourself, and thank you very much.